Jarishinam Bhimsanam Sahi Sarvasuradhyaksho Hyasuradvidguhasaya Tanmula Devata Sarva Seshwara Sachaturmukha Ayambai Tattvadopayo Jadishinam Vihinsanam Vaishnavis Sahi Sarvasuradhyaksha He, Lord Vishnu, he indeed Sarvasura Adyakshaha, the leader of all the demigods. He indeed Asura Dvit, the enemy of the Asuras. Guhasayaha, he is the super soul within the core of everyone's heart. Tadmulaha, taking shelter at his lotus feet. Devataha, the demigods exist. Sarvaha, all of them. Saishwaraha, including Lord Shiva. Sachatu Mukhaha, as well as Lord Brahma, who has 4 faces. I am, this is, Vai, indeed, Tadvadha Upayaha, the only means of killing him. Vishnu. Jat, which, Rishinam, of great sages, saintly persons, or Vaishnavas. Vihimsanam, suppression with all kinds of persecution. Translation. Lord Vishnu, the super soul within the core of everyone's heart, is the ultimate enemy of the Asuras, and is therefore known as Asura Dvit. He is the leader of all the demigods, because all the demigods, including Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, exist under his protection. The great saintly persons, sages, and Vaishnavas also depend upon him. To persecute the Vaishnavas, therefore, is the only way to kill Vishnu. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The demigods and the Vaishnavas especially are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, Vishnu, because they are always obedient to his orders. Om Tat Vishnu Paramam Padam Sada Pashyanta Surayaha. The demoniac followers of Kamsa thought that if the Vaishnavas, saintly persons and sages, were persecuted, the original body of Vishnu would naturally be destroyed. Thus they decided to suppress Vaishnavism. The Asuras perpetually struggle to persecute the Vaishnavas because they do not want Vaishnavism to spread. Vaishnavas preach only devotional service, not encouraging karmis, jnanis, and yogis. Because if one must liberate oneself from material conditional life, one must ultimately become a Vaishnava. Our Krishna consciousness movement is directed with this understanding, and therefore the Asuras always try to suppress it. Om Ajnanatimidandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Vasyatyadesh Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhuvya evacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Lord Vishnu, the super soul within the core of everyone's heart, is the ultimate enemy of the Asuras and is therefore known as Asura Dvit. He is the leader of all the demigods because all the demigods, including Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, exist under his protection. The great saintly persons, sages and Vaishnavas, also depend upon him. To persecute the Vaishnavas, therefore, is the only way to kill Vishnu. So here we are hearing a description of Vishnu and his associates, his devotees. And previously, verse from yesterday, other things were included: the cows, Vedic knowledge, austerity, truthfulness, etc. So the description continues. Let's remember that this description is given by a demon. So before I try to present something, I have to say that this, in the theater world, in drama, it's what's called a hard act to follow. Who was here yesterday for Prabhu's class? Yeah? Okay, so you know what I'm talking about? So that means that when someone presents something really, really good, a good act, I mean, I'm saying act as a performance, but definitely a very good, enthusiastic class. So whatever comes after is very hard because it was so good. So this is a disclaimer. This is an apology before anything. Can't imitate Prabhu enthusiasm. But it was very interesting to see the reality of what Krishna consciousness is. How these devotees, Prabhupada disciples, and also the followers of Prabhupada disciples, in many places had to do a lot of hard work pioneering the Krishna consciousness movement. I know, or I read, in Russia, for example, it was very difficult in the beginning. Also, in some parts of Eastern Europe, devotees were preaching when there was war in the country. Like that, in different places, we can see that it was very hard for devotees to establish things. Now we are kind of established somewhat. We are recognized after so much work done by the devotees, Srila Prabhupada himself. So it's easier. In many ways, it's easier. I'm sure there are some countries that still are left there for those who are wanting to have adventure. So you can look in the map, talk to your GBC, and right. I remember reading in the Lilamrita how devotees, I think initially went to, was it Pakistan, Iran, or one of those places, right? They just went out there, then arrived 2 or 3 of them, and they started doing Harinam, right, in the middle of a very conflicted place. So you can imagine so many of these things that the devotees were doing in the beginning, basically risking their lives for Krishna. And Prabhupada did appreciate this very much, very much. Many letters, conversations, many of his purports, actually. He glorifies the sacrifice of these devotees. And being caught up by Jivanath Prabhu's enthusiasm yesterday, I started reading some of the Radha Damodar pastimes Tamal Krishna Maharaj describes in his book, Servant of the Servant. And I remember reading a long time back one occasion when, there are many occasions, but one particularly that caught my attention, and I found it yesterday, where the devotees used to come and set themselves up near universities or central places in different cities in the United States. And they basically set up the circus, the Hare Krishna circus. And there was Vishnuyan Swami doing his kirtans, lots of prasadam. Then they had the Vaikuntha players. They had drama, and they have so many things going on. And generally, they would have some demons appearing, not on stage, but on another sort of a stage. For example, one time they were having Mongol Arctic. They couldn't find a good spot near the university, so they ended up parking, I think in the parking lot of a nursing home. You know nursing homes, right? Retiree homes. So senior people live there very quietly, peacefully. So 4 o'clock in the morning, everyone rushing into the public toilets and showers. You can imagine the commotion that these devotees were creating. So what happened? They called the police. So right in the middle of Mongol Arctic, Vishnu Swami doing the puja for Radha Damodar, and Tamal Krishna Maharaj leading the kirtans. You can imagine that scene. And right there, the electricity goes off. Right? They didn't know what happened, so they were plugged into the, those camping things, sites that they have the electrical outlet. And somebody broke the side windows, and there were 2 rifles pointing at them. Okay, everyone to the floor. What happened is the police had arrived. They disconnected the electricity from the bus. And anyway, you can imagine how the story goes. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj jumps in and talks them into, understanding that this is actually good. You can search us, etc. And one of them said, actually, we are very suspicious of you people, because some time ago we know that you were caught somewhere because one lady thought that you guys had 2 little children tied up, and you were torturing them with fire. You were bringing some kind of, torch or something, and you were torturing them. Right? So we were very, very concerned about you guys. Anyway, pack your bags and get out of here. So that was the mood, right? All the brahmacharis happy, chanting Nishingadev and rocking the buses while they were traveling from city to city. But one time they arrived in one place, I forgot now the exact place. Austin, I think it was, I don't know. And there was one particularly envious guy. They call him Big Hector. And the guy was a big guy who was very envious of the devotees always getting there so early. Devotees will wake up for something and they will be there by 6 at the most, getting the best location for that fair or something that was going on. And of course, people were selling food and different things, and the devotees were giving out free prasadam. So the devotees' stall in their circus was the most attractive. On top was free. So everyone was very, very upset with them. So this Big Hector, for a couple of days, he tried to come earlier than earlier, but always the devotees beat him in that sense. And they were there before him, and they were laughing, and he was insulting them. They were, Haribol, Haribol, and things like that. So anyway, one day after 2-3 days of this lila going on, the devotees were chanting, getting ready for their duties in the morning. And after they were finishing their program, the little program they had, this Hector comes with a big rod, metal rod, comes swaying it around and attacking the devotees. Everyone was running. And he grabbed a rug where a couple of devotees were sitting, so he was just about to strike them. Vishnu Maharaj used to be the pujari, or the head pujari of Radha Damodar. So he was tall from the descriptions. I've seen some videos and things, but and he jumps out right from the altar, right from doing puja. You know those who do puja here, right? How it is inside, everything is clean, pure, and mantras and everything is Vaikuntha-like. So he jumps out from doing his puja, grabs a pole from the tents that they will set up, And he jumps in front of everybody. Everyone was standing thinking, hey, what's this crazy fellow doing? And he jumps in front of everybody, runs towards him, and invites him to fight. And he calls him, you dog, vile dog, come and fight with me. Exactly what Prabhu said. He thought, you guys are different. You guys are pacifists. And then everyone came out of their shock and went to grab some poles and start chasing the guy. So like that was the pastimes. And Prabhupada loved these things. Prabhupada loved these descriptions. You know, it's like a child. Let's have a good fight. Yesterday when I was researching, I was thinking it would be so nice to have a book on demons in Prabhupada's times. It will be maybe Prabhu, you can contribute for that. That would be a bestseller. And there were many demons that Prabhupada had to fight personally. You know the story of the Mumbai temple, Mr. N, as it's called in the Lilamrita. Now we know its name is Nair, and that has been too long. And, you know, at the end he died out of a heart attack, right? And then I think Tamal Krishna Maharaj and perhaps Giriraj Maharaj were commenting with Prabhupada, Prabhupada, you were so brave, so smart, and this, that. And Prabhupada raised his face, and he said, that was a good fight. So, you know, Prabhupada came to establish Dharma Samstapanartaya. He came to represent Krishna's mission. So he knew what he had to face. And many times he expressed his concern of being killed, because many parents in America, they were so upset and angry at Prabhupada because their sons and daughters were joining his movement by the thousands. Right? We can imagine what these devotees would have been if they wouldn't have joined the movement. I'm saying in the good sense, you know. Prabhu will be like a, superstar. Very successful, and so many of the Matajis and so many things, but Prabhupada was just grabbing them. In fact, I was reading in this Servant of the Servant book how Tamal Krishna Maharaj and Vishnu Swami will go and supervise or assess how the preaching has been going. And sometimes they will comment, I think we should stay another day or so. Right? And why do you think that they wanted to stay one more day or so? Because they haven't made any devotee just yet. So they were traveling, and they were basically, right, making devotees right then and there. People were surrendering like that, literally. They'll come, pay obeisance, shave up, get in, and go. Like that. And I heard a number of devotees who were in those parties. Giridhari Maharaj, who else is there? The Prananda Maharaj. And I heard many stories like that. So it's so intimate, so intimate. So Prabhupada was putting in practice what he said here. So it's not that he was just talking out of theory. Anyway, when we discuss about demons, obviously we need to think, what are the basis of these claims? What are they described as demons? For this purpose, we have to refer to what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam are like parallels. Like if you have a light here, and then you have an object here, and when the light is projected, that shadow is projected wider. Like that, in the same way, Bhagavad Gita is condensed, are the condensed statements of the Lord Himself. And then He describes certain things, and they are elaborated, sometimes partly in the Gita itself, but much more in the Bhagavatam. Because in the Gita there was no time, right? Sometimes it is said that it was spoken in 1 hour or so, right? But if you recite it, it will take quite a few hours. But in any case, short time. But in the Bhagavatam, there was more time, 7 days or so. So, this is a practical description of the divine nature. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16, divine and demoniac nature. And there it's mostly a description of the demoniac nature, right? I think there are 3 verses or so devoted to the divine. And then the rest, actually is the second shortest chapter in the Gita, I think, right? 15 and 12, they have 20 verses only, and 16 has 24, right? And we have a program called Gita for Everyone. And generally in that program, we use a trick. And then we say, if you don't want to read the whole chapter, at least read 1 verse of that chapter, right? So you can go and read the last verse. And that last verse explains basically what is the difference between a demon and a devotee, right? Krishna explains that the difference between a demon and a devotee basically is one who rejects the Shastra or one who follows the Shastra, right? So that's the simple definition. Of course, there's much more to it, because we may argue, but Hiranyakashipu actually was quite Vedic, right? And here we can see that these people know philosophy, isn't it? I mean, what they're saying is not entirely wrong, but the intention is wrong, correct? Because as Krishna says in the Gita also, chapter 15, Prabhupada quotes this verse here? No. The previous one. In chapter 15, it is explained that what's the purpose of the Vedas? Vedascha sarvarahameva vedyo. In order for us to know Krishna, we need to know the Vedas. The Vedas are meant to know Krishna. Right? And the Acharyas explain that once we know Krishna, then the goal is to please Him. The goal is to serve Him. So, the idea of the Vedas, the idea of presenting the Vedas in the Bhagavad Gita is to give us direction. Daivi Sampat, the path of the divine people, and the Asuric Sampat, the path of the demoniac. Now, there's one thing in regards of talking about demons or reading about demons, and maybe there's something that you can think of and share or disagree with me. I don't mind. When we hear about demons, what is the general tendency that we have, or that I have? I don't want to generalize. When we read about demons, all these horrible people with fangs and tails and claws and horns, and what is the tendency? Do we identify with them, right? Or we de-identify from them? We think it's them, it's not us, correct? It's them. Yeah? The bad guys. I'm here, the good guys. Right? It's them. It's not me. I have nothing to do with these people. Right? Prabhu briefly mentioned that a couple times in the class yesterday. That some of us come from a very demoniac background, and still some of those demoniac mentalities or tendencies will be there. Srila Prabhupada explains in several of his lectures on chapter 16 that basically there is a difference between demoniac and divine. Demoniac means I want to do whatever I want to do, whatever I want to achieve, selfish. And divine or devotional is I want to do anything and everything pleases Krishna. Just to make it simple, that's how Prabhupada presents it. In another lecture, he says, human life is to develop divine qualities. And he explains, there is no need to endeavor for demoniac qualities. Why? Because they are already there. And he says in that class, everybody in this material world is more or less a demon. So all what is missing in this purpose is our little passport photo. And then we can have a more practical application of this. So I'm just going to make a turn right now. Still, we have some time. And instead of focusing on them, when we read the demons, the bad people, the ones who are lusty, greedy, angry, etc., we're going to turn around the focus and we're going to try to look at ourselves. And why am I doing this? Not because I want to keep you awake, but because that's what the acharyas do, right? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he writes this beautiful analysis of a devotee's mind. It's called Vaishnava Ke. What kind of devotee are we? Are you? Vaishnava Ke. So there he analyzes the risks of being a devotee. Right? What is that? Madhurya Kalambini, where is that? There is a description that there are some bhakti anarthas. Is that Madhurya Kalambini? I forgot the source. And then you may think, what is bhakti anarthas? Bhakti is pure, like Maharaj was saying. Right? Sunday, bhakti is pure. So how is this bhakti anarthas? Bhakti anarthas refer to the pride that comes from being a Vaishnava or trying to becoming a Vaishnava. Pride. Prabhupada says in one of his 16th chapter Bhagavad Gita classes, even the dog, it's proud. So you don't have to endeavor. You don't have to go to a seminar or a workshop, take an online course, get a certificate for it. It's there. Somebody steps on your toe, somebody pushes you too hard, and there you see your false ego, your pride comes out. And then Prabhupada makes a sound, ruff, ruff, when the dog is barking. That's me, I'm a dog. Nowadays, I notice, I don't know nowadays, but young people, they call each other dog. Hey, dog, right? Hey, dog. You dog, Vishnuyan Swami's statement. So the idea of this analysis is to turn the camera on us. You know, like we have the selfie, right? People are very fun here in India. You see people taking selfies, right? So now the selfie, it's on mode. What about us? It's easy to point out fingers. Oh, that devotee. Oh, that Mati. Oh, these people. Oh, that Prabhu. Oh, that neighbor from hell, etc. It's harder to look at ourselves. It's much harder. Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, once he was asked, what is the fastest or easiest way to advance in the spiritual life? And he said, I don't know if you know something else, but anyway, what I know is that he said, the harsh words of a sadhu. The harsh words of a sadhu. Why? Prabhupada explains about that. He said, like when we recite this verse, Oma Jnana Timirandasya, because our eyes are covered by ignorance. And then you need a sharp instrument. How do you say that in English? Scalpel? How, you know those? Yeah? So that needs to be very, very sharp and enter into, you know, whether it's the eyes or the heart or whatever the operation is going on. Really come in and cut through and get that tumor or whatever it is that it's hurting us. Anartha. Anartha means the opposite of artha. You know, dharma, artha, moksha, kama. Artha means something that is achievable, something that you really want. Artha. Artha means that you have a lot of good stuff. Anartha is something which is useless, something that is unnecessary. So when our eyes are covered by this sheet of ignorance, it needs to be removed in order for us to see. So in the same way, the sadhus, Srila Prabhupada, actually I remember once Buddhijam Prabhu, he made a presentation on Prabhupada's books, And then he had made a search of how many times Prabhupada used the word rascals. I don't know, thousands. It was just like everyone was just laughing. I forgot the number now. Thousands. Rascal, 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 rascal. So this is good. This is good. It's the doctor is saying, you rascal, you have been smoking for so many years. And now you have this big tumor in your lungs. Or you have been eating all this rubbish. And you have this big clog or whatever it is in your stomach or in your heart or whatever. The doctor is good. He's telling us what's wrong with us. Right? This is not to discourage anybody, please. This is to make it easier for us. Because at some point, we start taking it for granted. You know, you took first initiation, that went through a whole endeavor. Then you take second initiation. Then you come to India. Then you come for one festival. Then you come to another festival. And at one point, you know, years piled up. You have been in the movement for a decade or 2 decades or even more. And then you start thinking, oh, I'm a Vaishnava. And you forget why we are here. Right? This is a hospital, Prabhupada says. This is a hospital. And we have a medicine, Aushadhi, it's called. Huh? Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Aushadhi Maya. The medicine for Maya, Harinama Mahamantra. And we forget. We cannot only chant and think, we can say it in some context, that everything is okay. But what is the greatest impediment for achieving perfection through our chanting? The mind, yes. But there's something specific. Huh? The ego, yes. Complacency, great. Maya, okay. Offenses, thank you. The offenses. All that you said, it's correct. But that is manifested when we commit offenses. Right? So the Acharyas, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, I mentioned the Vaishnavake. Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Chaitanya Shikshamrita. Not that I have read the book, I just searched it. But he identifies each of these demons. Here, these demons are described. And each of these demons represent a particular anartha. Right? Each of them represents something that Krishna will take care of if we surrender to him. And Kamsa is like the summum bonum of all that. Right? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he writes a book, Sadhu Ninda. It's more than a book, it's just an analysis of this. It's made into a book now, being sold here. And there he explains the root mentality of a demon. And that's why we are here. That's why we are here in this material world. What is that root mentality? Basically manifests in the rejection of the supremacy of Krishna. We don't like it that someone sits higher than us. We don't like it. Right? I say we in the figurative sense. I'm not implying that all of you are like that. But it's hard to accept that somebody that appears like me, 2 hands, 2 legs, right? It's worshipped, it's adored, and everything goes his way. Right? There's a story that, I think I told this story here before, but anyway. A big plate of boga, cooked for the deities, was coming to being offered to Los Angeles temple, the deities, Rukmini Dwarkadish, big plate, right? So the Mataji was bringing the plate, and it was covered by this cloth. You know how it is. Generally, you see sometimes the plates when they go to Gornitai, like that, you see the plates. So Sunday feast, Srila Prabhupada is giving class, the temple is packed, and this Mataji is making her way with the plate offering, and somehow the cloth just flies off. And there was one hippie sitting there, and he sees the plate, And he goes, whoa, man, that's awesome, this, that. Yeah? He says, no, 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 no. This is for the deities, the Mataji said. And then the hippie replies, how long does it take to become a deity? Like, I want that. I want that too. So the tendency is there. Sometimes it's expressed or manifested in a very mild way. Sometimes it's manifested in a very gross way. But everything goes according to the degree of our envy, right? So that's one thing. Three things. One is the disgust at seeing Krishna's supremacy. That's one. Number two, the scriptures. We don't like, someone said yesterday, or no, a few days ago, that I don't like rules, right? That's why we are here, because we don't like rules. Right? You know, we go to the prison house. In the prison house, there's rules, and those rules are meant for your rehabilitation. And if we don't follow the rules, just like Krishna says, Shastra Vidim, Ja Shastra Vidim Utriyaha, that these rules are rejected. Why? Because we want to enjoy as we want, how we want. Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me what to eat. Don't tell me what time I have to wake up. Remember your teenage years, right? And your mother and father trying to wake you up and tell you to do this or that in this way or in that way. Huh? That's there, right? So that psychology of rebelling, it's quite present in this material world, and that's why we are here. Now, we may argue, why these demons have to be there? Why don't we just make it all rosy and, you know, and why these demons have to be here? Right? And there's another parallel with the Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 16, demons are described, correct? Right? The thing is about to finish. Right? Everything is practically said. But the demons are described towards the end of the Bhagavad Gita. Why? Because it is a warning. Now you know you are a spirit soul. Now you know you belong to Krishna. Now you know Krishna is supreme. Feels good. Now you know what to do, what to think, what to feel, etc. It feels good. But there is a problem. And what is that problem? The first quality of the demon. You become proud. We become proud. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati used to say, if I think I'm a Vaishnava, I am a demon. He used to say it like that. And Srila Prabhupada says in that regard that the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, he said, I am lower than the... Yes, exactly. Lower, right? So that's the mood. And Prabhupada answers the question that may arise. So what's the solution? What's the solution? To become humble, right? If we become humble, then we can chant, we can practice, we can achieve perfection. So the three main symptoms. One is to reject the supremacy of Krishna. Second, the statements of the Shastras. Even if we cannot practice, even if we cannot follow, even if we don't like it, at least, Srila Prabhupada explains, accept it, at least theoretically. At least. Okay, I don't like it. I don't agree with it. But there must be some reason for it. Okay, so this is another symptom. Rejection of following Shastra. I do it my own way, Prabhu. Don't be fanatic. Right? Have you heard that one? Right? It's very common nowadays. And the last one, what is the worst thing? The worst thing that we can do in order for us to prevent our advancement in Krishna consciousness is exactly what the demons are saying here. To attack the Vaishnavas. Right? And we have to be very careful with how we carry ourselves in our daily life near Vaishnavas. Tad britya gata sanga sangamai. that we are in close proximity with the devotees. And that tendency of criticizing, fault finding, that's one of the characteristics. It's very prominent in Kali Yuga, right? If you go online, YouTube, all these places, Google, right? So many criticisms about anything and everything. I'm not talking about only ISKCON, but anything, right? Anything, practically. So we have to be very mindful, because that's the state of affairs nowadays. So we have to be careful when we associate with devotees. You know, what we see, how they do, how they dress, how Prabhu was mentioning. We don't know. We are not Paramatma. So we don't know what Prabhu or Mataji has done, how they feel, how they think, why they are doing this or that. We don't know. One time I was told, because there was some problem somewhere, and then I asked the local Maharaj, and he told me, if it's your service to criticize something or try to fix it, then you do it. Otherwise, mind your own business. You know, Srila Prabhupada had the system of having, at some point, he was having the GBCs to be their personal secretaries for a month. Right, that. I don't think that all of them went, but some of them went. So one time, Satsaru Maharaj happened to be the secretary, traveling secretary with Prabhupada. So they came to Calcutta. Some of those here who know what Calcutta Temple State used to be, they will understand. Right, now it's a different story, it's a palace, but in those days it was very undeveloped. So he had to go downstairs and cook for Prabhupada. It was very hard. First of all, he's not a cook. Secondly, even if he would be a cook, it's hard because of the condition of the kitchen. So at some point he couldn't take it any longer, and he came up to Prabhupada and he says, Prabhupada, this is impossible. These are so dirty, da, da, da. He was going on and on and on. And Prabhupada was just, unmovable. He was just like, and then he opened his eyes, like Prabhu mentioned that when Prabhupada would get angry, his lips would shiver, right? That was another one was his eyes. He would get like, okay, it's coming. So move aside, dodge it. So Prabhupada opened his eyes and he told him, mind your own business, right? Because that's one thing. In terms of dealing with devotees, we have to mind our own business. No, don't become the sheriff of the town. Oh, this one doesn't do like this, they don't do like this, they don't chant like this, they don't dress like that. We have to be somewhat careful. So what's the solution to all this? The acharyas recommend to spot the enemy, right? To spot the enemy and target it. And the enemy, as Rabindranath Sarup Prabhu says in one of his seminars, guess who it is, the enemy? The selfie. Now the selfie mode comes in. That's it. I got it. I know. I got it in video. I got it now. I know who entered. I know who broke in, who trespassed, who assaulted. I got it on camera. Here it is. When you have a close look, that's us. Right? So what do you do? Right? Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains, and other acharyas and shastras explain, that the best method, I quoted Gorky Shordas Babaji, it is recommended that we take the dust of the devotees, right? In other sections of the Shastra, I think it's Bhagavatam, Prabhupada I think quotes this. It is recommended that if we commit offenses to the devotees, we wash their feet in the tears of repentance. That's intense, right? At least internally, it's like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says that when he sees the devotees chanting, his heart dances in ecstasy, right? So in the same way, we see the devotees, we should, really mean it, not just like mechanically. What does that mean? What does that mean? Especially those who come from Western countries, those of us, Sometimes we don't know what we are. Sarira, Vidyaja, Jyotindriya. You think it's like a digestive mantra. Mahaprashadik, oh, good. It's coming, hold on. Same thing. Banchakalpataru. Go and let's look for the meaning of each word. These people that we are surrounded by, they are our desired trees. We can ask them, please give me Krishna. It's not only Prabhupada, it's not only the Maharajas or the Prabhupada disciples, but it's everyone around us. We can learn from everybody. But I'm just saying it. It's easier said than done, right? So we have to endeavor. That's, on one hand, the solution. And the other solution is to admit. When you go to the doctor, often Prabhupada will use this analogy. When you go to the doctor, what is generally the doctor's question? Huh? How are you? Please have a seat. What does the doctor say? What's wrong with you? Right? That's what we have to say when we place ourselves in front of the mirror. What's wrong with you? Faking it. Kalichela. Right? This is not to discourage people, but in fact, it's a spiritual practice. And the Acharyas recommend this. Bhaktisiddhanta, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Prabhupada. That's why we pay obeisance every day. Right? That's why we circumambulate Tulsi. It's forgiveness from our offenses. But again, it's easier said than done. So, Prabhupada points out that the demoniac tendency is to block the Vaishnavas. And we do it individually by cultivating these demoniac tendencies, pride, etc. And sometimes we do it collectively, but we don't have time to discuss that. And when we do it collectively is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur identifies as apasampradayas. Right? We so-called Vaishnavas, we so-called worship Krishna, even chant Hare Krishna, but do so many things in a deviated way that we spoil the whole thing. Right? So we have to be mindful with this. This Krishna consciousness movement is directed to glorify Krishna, to glorify the Shastras, and to glorify the Vaishnavas. So we stop here if there's a question or so. Questions, comments, complaints? Yes, Prabhu? To do it. How to do it? So what's your question? How to do it? When I find the answer, I will tell you. I'm still looking for the answer. I'm trying. Those who know me know better. Prabhu, you have a question? Yeah, please.
These three quantities of demons, but I didn't...
Oppose the supremacy of Krishna, the authority of Shastra, and the devotee's position.
Thank you.
That's Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Sadhuninda. Anyone else? You had someone put his... Here? Okay, Prabhu, sorry.
The demons in this verse, they mention that the super soul is within the heart, everyone's heart. They also know this. And
yep.
So why do we fail to remember and take shelter of the super soul? Because he is the one who is doing everything for us, but he makes us feel that we are the doers. And so what is the fact that, why we fail to remember him? Even if
we fail to remember him?
Yeah, because in Delhi, our Narsimha Arati also we say that. Bahir Narsimha
because we are drunk. Because we are drunk. When people are drunk or drugged, they forget to eat. They don't care because they are so enamored with material nature, or we are so enamored with material nature that we just forget. We don't care. Why do I care? Is that thinking someone in my heart and this and that? No, I look at the mirror, I still have it, like Prabhu always says in his classes, the hair, the look. Oh yeah, I can enjoy, yeah. So we are drunk. So we have forgotten that. So we have to wake up by the association of those who are sober. And sometimes if we don't wake up, right? What do you do when someone doesn't wake up? Of course, nowadays we have to be very politically correct, so we have to be careful what we say. But what happens when someone doesn't wake up? All days. A bucket of water, okay, that's one. Another one? Left and right. Wake up, wake up. Sometimes guru, sadhus, or shastra, sometimes slap you left and right. Right? Come on, Prabhu, surrender. What's wrong with you? So sometimes we need a little bit of shake-up like that. So that's what I can say. The famous bell has sound, so we have to stop. Gantarat Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaura Brahmanandi Hari Hari.